The exhaust valve's definitely got some pitting, so we're definitely gonna clean these up and lap them into the seats again. Okay, so off camera I have done quite a bit of boring, stupid work. The mating surface of the head has been sanded down on a flat piece of glass. Same thing with the valve cover. You can see this little labyrinth here for the breather system. Mates up with another section of it on this side of the head. You'll see it when we put it together, but there's no gasket that goes between the two of them, so they're creating a seal just with some RTV. And in that particular area, there's no RTV in between here and the other surface. So anyway, I went through and made sure those were as close to being flat and parallel to each other as possible. Made some new gaskets. What else? Yeah, did a bunch of little stuff off of camera. Really, most of the time was spent cleaning the head up. The combustion chambers were really, really caked, and I think the head had gotten pretty hot, so the oil was all baked onto the aluminum, which made it pretty difficult to clean up. Now we're ready to start reassembling. So, back in for the fun stuff. We're going to start with the exhaust valve. And I took one pass just to show you what the valve surface looks like right now. So you see that thin gray line around the valve there. See, it's all spotted and weird looking. So we're going to try to make that a nice continuous patch to seal into the head. That's just with one pass. So we're going to try to get that surface there to be nice and clean too. We'll do the same with the intake. I'll start with the exhaust because it's going to take longer. So we got some compound suction cups, basic stuff here. Got the exhaust valve. I just got the head clamped to the bench with a vise with enough room for the valve to pop out of the pocket at the bottom there. So we'll start with I got a compound that has coarse and fine grit. I'm going to start with the coarse. It's a little cold out this morning, so this stuff isn't going to want to work very well until we get things moving around, but alright. A little bit of oil for the valve stem. Make sure we don't score up the guide. Main thing here is keep that guide nice and clean and lubricated, so you don't want to get any of this gritty stuff down in there. Oh yeah, might need a little oil with that or something, huh? Wow, it does not want to move. Yeah, if the whole suction cup's moving. Alright. I'm gonna do something here. I think what's happening is this extra suction cup I have here is rubbing on the side of the on this edge right here. Let's try it. And we're gonna want that size, so let's try it without it, I guess. Not had very good luck with the suction cups by themselves. It's definitely the worst part of the job is trying to get these things to seal. Let's try that again. And I'm going to put a little drop of oil right here. See if I can get that compound to work a little smoother. There we go. All right. Cup's moving again. All right, let's see what that looks like. It's coming in pretty nice. Yeah. Starting to come in pretty nice. Cool. We got a little longer to go before we're ready for the fine, but we'll take another pass with the coarse. Valve seat looks about the same. Still some pitting around there, but not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's actually, it's doing a pretty good job. So yeah, this stuff is real cold right now, so it doesn't want to work. I'm going to add a little oil to it to get the flow. Move up the valve stem. Rotate it as it goes down in. Make sure you get that oil nice and distributed on the guide. Alright, here we go. Come on. Okay. Let's take a look here. See what we got. Looks pretty decent. Yeah, there's still a little section of it there that I don't like, but okay, so here's the second pass. Second pass with the coarse. So we're getting a nice stripe around there. Still a little bit of pitting. We don't want to go too far. Probably one more with the coarse. You don't want to take much material off of the valve. You want to create an imperfect mating pattern. You really don't want to change the mating angle or pattern. You just want to take the high and low spots off. That's all you're really trying to do. So do as little of this as possible, I guess is what I'm saying. Let's let me give it just one drop of oil this time. I think I had too much last time. Alright. Third pass with coarse compound. Hopefully the dogs are quiet this time. I'm going to work that oil in there a little bit. There we go. Alright. I'm starting to get some oil in it. Oh. Alright, let's take a look. Oops. Yeah, I need to clean my suction cup, obviously. So, looking pretty good. I think we'll probably just move on to the fine. Got a pretty even, consistent stripe across there. I don't see any major pits or anything. And take a look at the head side. Look on the seat. Seat shows pretty much the same. I have a little bit of pitting right here at this corner where most of the heat is. Not too bad though. I think we'll just go in with some fine and call it good. So let's switch compounds. Clean the suction cup too because it's not doing its job anymore. Yeah, probably the worst part of the whole thing is freaking trying to get that suction cup to stay seated. Seems like it'll work. If you're wondering how much I'm putting on there, it's not much. I'm just dabbing a little bit like that. Not even around the whole thing. Just, that's actually too much right there. I don't even need that much. Let's try this without oil. See what happens. Yeah, it's still slipping everywhere. You can probably hear the difference in the noise too between the coarse compound and the fine. This is why I had that addition on that one cup. That's why I had this piece here added to this cup, because I had the same problem with this thing before, but I don't have a choice right now because it's too big. So luckily this valve didn't need a bunch of work, so. Okay, let's take a look. Looks pretty good. If I see any deeper marks on it, I might take the fine across it again. Yeah, I think it could deal with one more pass with the fine. Take some of the deeper cuts out from the course. But overall it looks pretty good. I think one more pass with the fine and we'll have it. Yep, I'll be alright there. Tiny little spot where there's a little bit of pitting here on the seat, but it's not going to be perfect, so I'll just get her in there like that and see what happens. Stinking cup. Second pass with the fine. Jeez. That's what happened last time. I tried to clean it off with the suction cup attachment, just fell into the bench. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it keeps changing focus, but looks pretty good. Definitely not perfect. But I don't want to create, what you don't want to do is create like a concave surface in here where you're grinding this material. You want to try to keep that valve to seat angle the same, which is why you don't want to really overdo this. So without the camera focusing, it's hard for me to explain it. But yeah, I don't want to go much further than that because I'm going to start destroying the geometry of the valve to the seat. So that's what I was trying to say. Trying to give you a visual on what that means. So I should have pretty good seat in there. Shine some light in there and see if we get anything coming out. See anything? Should be a pretty good seal. I'll show you the seat. So here's the exhaust valve and seat. You can still see a little bit of pitting there, but I don't want to go any further and start changing the geometry of the valve and seat. But we got most of the pitting out and it looks alright. Like I said, I'm trying to do as little work to the valve as possible. I'm starting to be able to feel a little bit of a ridge here, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to change this. You don't want to change geometry between the seat and the valve. So we're going to stop there with the exhaust, and then we're going to come over to the intake and clean it up. You can see it doesn't need much. It just needs a polish, and that's it. So we'll probably just use the fine compound on it. So I went ahead and lapped in just with fine compound the intake valve. You can see there's a little bit of distortion to the seat right here. I'm not going to worry about it. It's right where it's next to the exhaust, where all that heat is. It's a little distorted right there. but I'm not going to go too much further. Really, I think this engine probably needs an actual valve job, because I'm starting to see some distortion of the geometry on the exhaust valve, and it's starting to get a little concave on the intake too. I just think the engine's been hot. Really, the proper way to do this would be to do a valve job, recut the seat, and put new valves in. So there's only so much that lapping can do. It can only really remove some of the imperfections on the surface. And if you do it too much, it can actually do more harm than good. And it's getting to that point. So I'm gonna call it good here. And yeah, we'll start reassembling the head. At this point, this is gonna be the final cleaning. I'm gonna make sure that there's no chunks of debris left from any of the processes we went through. I'm just gonna clean. Do a final clean on the head. Especially up in here. Little pockets hold stuff. And especially the valve guides. I'll blow that off. Now we'll wipe down the valves and make sure there's none of that compound left on the valves. I mean, that stuff is designed to eat into metal, so it's you gotta be super careful about it being clean. Clean out these ports, make sure there's nothing left in there. Rag's coming back pretty clean, so I think we're good. Okay. Let's put some new valve stem seals in. Pretty simple, they just have a little spring that holds them onto the guide. Might want to lube that up a little bit. That didn't seem to go all the way. All right. Okay, I think that's as far as she goes. And we'll lube up the guides and lube up the valve stem seals here. And we'll start with the exhaust valve. Lube up the stem. I'm rotating it as I put it in to make sure it's not binding on anything. And it's going to come through the seal. Make sure it doesn't move the seal. There we go. Looks pretty good. Same thing with this guy. Rotate them in there. Good time to check, or an easy way to check to see if it's got any weird run out. Just take the valve, spin it in the guide. Alright, we're at the seal, and we're past the seal. Alright. I'm going to check and make sure there's nothing sitting under the valves. They all look clean. Look like they're seated pretty well. Just shine a light into the port. Looking for light coming out of the I can see just a little bit of light on the intake, and it's right here. We saw that part of the seat that didn't get touched by the compound. It's definitely not ideal. I might come through on this intake and do a little bit more work on that. Exhaust seems fine, but I did grind more of the exhaust than I did the intake, so. Yeah, even with some pressure on the valve, it's still, I can still see light right through that pocket right there. So before I go too much further, I'm gonna set this back up over here and go just a tad further with that. You can see light through it. It's not going to seal very well. When it runs, it'll seat in a little bit, but that little bit there concerns me. I might need to run a rough compound on it just once to get it to seat. One step forward, 2 steps back. That's the nature of the work. Let's hit it with rough once and see if we can get that little bit of warp out of the seat. I have to be extra careful now because I've got the valve seals in there too. Actually, I'm probably going to have to pop that seal out because I don't think this is going to rotate very well with the seal in there. There we go. Alright, I took the seal back out. There's too much resistance to try to spin it through the seal too, so just set it to the side. Okay, it's in there now. Now, can I get this to stick with all the oil I've been rubbing on everything? Probably not. I hear the difference in the compound. There's the suction cup again. Let's see if we get that distorted area out of there. Ooh, it's really close. I'm going to have to do one more pass. Still see a little bit right there. It's starting to touch top and bottom now. Okay, one more pass. And then we'll have to do it with a fine too, so. The valve looks really good. You know, these valves move more than any other engine component. They do more work than any other component, and they're typically overlooked. Everybody thinks piston rings and that kind of stuff, but the valves do a lot of work. And if you can't seal the chamber, then you're not going to I'm not going to have a well-running engine, so it's worth it right now to be double checking this stuff. The real way to check if they're sealing is to fill this chamber with fluid and make sure that it doesn't leak out. I'm not going to go that far because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like the result because the valves are a little bit worn. So I don't think they're going to seal perfectly. But I don't want to confirm that. I'd rather just be okay with it being marginally better than it was. Put some more of the rough stuff on there. This suction cup is just fighting me hard today. This one's too big, isn't it? Yeah. Let's try giving a little brake clean. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, we come in there with the fine, and I think we'll get that very last little piece of discoloration out of there. That should seat a little better. Yeah, this fine compound's stickier too. Doesn't help that it's 45 degrees out right now either. Well, it feels like it's creating a bunch of suction, so it's done something right. Here is the intake valve as it looks now. Clean up the seat, bring it down in here and see what we got. Oh yeah. Yep, that should do it. By the time we run that in, it'll get away. This is what I was fighting the whole time, is this area right there. You can see a slight bit of discoloration right there. But it's not the black stripe that it was before. So by the time that valve cycles, it should seat into that just fine. You can see a tiny little bit, but I'll give it the old light test again and see how it does. Back to assembly. Pop this out. Clean this up. Okay, the seat's nice and clean. We'll put the stem seal back on. Yeah, I can do that from underneath, so that was no big deal. I'm going to lube up the stem again. Okay, there we go. Okay, I think we got her sealed now. As good as we're gonna get it. Get some oil out of here. And some oil out of here. Alright, back to the assembly. So now it's time to install the springs. Just reversive removal. Nothing fancy. I remember having to rotate this one up past the casting there. You want access to this groove right here, so we can put keepers on. And usually you can get them to stick on with a little bit of oil. We'll try that now. Otherwise they kind of want to fall off of there. They have a tapered end that goes down towards the valve. Okay, they're in there. Should hold the spring pressure in there. Okay, give her a little tap. Make sure the keepers are snapped into place. Double check, make sure we don't have any leaks around the seat anywhere. Nope, I don't see any light coming out, so we're good. Same thing for the exhaust. Okay, we got that groove right there. Should be on there pretty good. Shine her down in here. Looks good. Give her a little tap. Make sure this isn't pointing at you. There we go. They're in there. We got new seals. Stems are nice and flat on the top now. And she's ready for the next phase.